Hello guys, welcome back, and today I'm bringing you another guide from Monster Hunter Wilds, and today we are talking about the controls. Now I'm gonna show you the PS5 controls for this game, but you can easily map it to the Xbox controller as well. I'm gonna show the image on what buttons I'm talking about, and you can map it to the Xbox controls and make a note of it. Let's talk about the controls when your item is drawn. So we'll move into the drawn state by pressing the triangle button, and now the X button is actually evade. It doesn't matter whether you are standing still or moving, the X will always evade from the enemy attacks. Circle is used for the standard attacks. For melee weapons it means a standard attack, but for ranged weapons it could be a special shot or it could be a mode switch depending on the weapon you have equipped. For example, in I think heavy bowgun you can switch modes in which you will fire, so it depends on the weapon that you have equipped on what the circle button will do when you have a ranged weapon or a melee weapon. For a melee weapon it will always be some kind of an attack, like for longsword it is thrust. And then we have the circle button, which is for melee weapons. Again, it is a standard attack. For longsword it is overhead slash. For other melee weapons it is a different attack, and for all ranged weapon it is either reload or applying some kind of coating. Now once we have drawn the weapon, we can press the square again to go back into the sheath state. Left stick is the same, you use it for moving. The L3 button use also changes when you are in a drawn state. If you press L3, it will sheath your weapon. So I enter into drawn state, pressed L3 and it sheathed my weapon up. The right stick is again used for adjusting the camera, as you can see, and R3 button is for switching the target, which is the same as the sheathed state. Whether you are in sheathed state or the drawn state, the D-pad function also doesn't change. Basically, the up button is used for calling secret, for automatically moving into the direction of the monster. The left button is used for viewing your pouch, and right button is for switching weapons, and the down button is again for calling secret but not moving into the direction of the not automatically moving in the direction where you want to go. Now L1 button is again holding the it again brings up the item bar along with other important information. It doesn't change. And L2, the one which we are using for aiming our slinger ammo, it changes because now you are into the focus mode, something called focus mode. Now you can press and hold for the focus mode, or you can change this setting as well into the options. Let me show you where this option is. For example, if I go to the controls and yeah, so if you can see focus mode, you can put it on a toggle mode, which means that if you press the L2 button once while you are in drawn state, you will remain in focus mode. You can change it back to hold, which means that as long as you press L2, you will remain in focus mode, and as soon as you leave L2 button, you will move out of focus mode. I recommend that you keep it on toggle mode for melee weapons, and for range weapons you keep it on hold mode. That feels more natural to me. Now the R1 button is actually used for the focus strike while you are in drawn state. For example, right now I am in focus mode, so if I see a wound on a monster, I'll press R1 on the wound and it will do a focus strike for me. Focus strikes are special attacks which are introduced in Monster Hunter Wilds, where you can attack a wound that you have opened up on a monster. It appears red in focus mode. If you're not in focus mode, you won't be able to see that wound, but if you press the L2 button and enter into the focus mode, you will be able to see that wound, and with R1 you will be able to attack this wound. Every weapon has a different focus strike animation, and every weapon obviously gives you different effects for it. The next we have is the R2 button, which is again it can be a special attack or a guard depending on the weapon that you are using. For example, I'm using a longsword. For a longsword it is a special attack. For a weapon like greatsword, it is a guard. So depending on the weapon that you are using, R2 button is used differently in the drawn state. And for the ranged weapons, it is either the standard shot or it could be a charge shot depending on the ranged weapon that you have employed. For example, light bowgun, heavy bowgun may have different uses. For the R2 button, it could be one could have been a standard shot, other could be a charge shot. It depends on the ranged weapon that you have equipped. The options button is again for using the options. It doesn't change between drawn and sheathed state. For example, if I'm into the drawn state, I press the options button, it opens the same menu, and the controls for opening the map also remain the same by touching the touchpad button. Alright, so that's it. This should be a very basic and the beginner's guide, which should actually let you get off. I know there's a lot of going on with the controls, but it is very essential to play this game well. So if you like the video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for future Monster Hunter Wild guides. Thank you guys. Bye bye.